Alright, so I just gotta quickly come on here and just get this out, get this out of my chest, because this is something that I've wanted to talk about for a really long time, but just never really got the right opportunity to do it. But it's just something that I feel like needs to be said, because not a lot of people are saying it. I just gotta get this off my chest. And this video goes out to the entire gaming community, and specifically the ones that constantly bash Xbox. And all I gotta say is, can we stop? Can we stop with this whole Xbox hate bandwagon? Can we stop saying Xbox is dead? Can we stop saying Xbox is leaving the console market, even though they've already announced a new damn console? Can we just stop, all right? It's getting to the point now where it's more than just people hating on Xbox's, failures or whatever. It's gone past that point. I've noticed that it's literally, because I'm sure you guys have seen it before, people say the term Xbox is dead. You hear it all the time, especially from a certain someone who claims to be a big Sega fan. If you know, you know. Yeah, you hear this term all the fucking time, and it's to the point now where it actually gets on my nerves. It actually gets on my fucking nerves. Now, this isn't me just blindly, defending Xbox. I'm not an Xbox fanboy or anything. I don't even own an Xbox Series X. In fact, the only Xbox console I own is the 360, alright? So, before you guys say anything, I'm not an Xbox fanboy whatsoever. I'm not an Xbox defender. All I'm saying is that, can we please stop the whole Xbox is dead narrative? Because it's just fucking ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd. People think that, Xbox is just gonna stop making consoles just overnight, and it's I really just want to get this off my chest, because this is something that's just been annoying me for quite a few months now, and I want to tell you guys exactly why Xbox is actually in a better position than a lot of people think they are. A lot of people think that Xbox is just this completely failing brand and stuff, and it actually isn't, and I'll explain why. I'll explain exactly why. So yeah, I just got a rant pretty much. So yeah, basically, nowadays it's become the popular thing to hate Xbox, for a whole multitude of reasons, and it's to the point where it's just getting so petty and childish now. I mean, first of all, the hardware sales, people always shit on Xbox for not selling as much as PlayStation, which is yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a failure though. I mean, 34 million units, which I think is about how much the Series X and S are sold. Call me crazy, I wouldn't personally consider that a failure. Obviously, it's not as much as the PS5. Obviously, we know the PS5 sold a shit ton. No one's denying that. But people saying the Series X is on the same level as a Atari Jaguar or something. It just isn't. 34 million units is still a decent amount, all things considered. Not to mention, considering as well the Xbox One did around 50 million units or so. That's not too bad, all things considered. Considering how the last system did. So yeah, so call me fucking insane, but I wouldn't go as far to say 34 million units is a failure. And what I find kind of funny is that 34 million is still more than the original Xbox sold. And yet, I've never heard anyone say the original Xbox is a failure. That's more than what the GameCube sold as well. That I have heard people say is a failure, but I've never heard people say the original Xbox failed. But yet the Series X has outsold that, so I'm just saying, and the whole hardware sales narrative is just a cope for fanboys pretty much. Because honestly, who really cares? At the end of the day, whether a system sells 100 million units or if it sells only 2.5 units, I don't even know how it would be possible, but let's just say hypothetically, does it really matter? As long as the games are there, the games that you want to play on that system, does it actually even matter? Who honestly cares how well or poorly a system sells? Just because a system doesn't sell as well as its competitor doesn't automatically mean it's a bad system. And that's what a lot of people seem to think. They think because Xbox is selling less than PS5 significantly, that automatically makes it a bad console. Which isn't the case. Hardware sales does not equal quality. I mean, the PS5 just recently sold over 90 million units. But yet there's still no damn games for the fucking thing. There's still virtually no exclusives, and that's another topic I'll go back on as well. The whole exclusives argument. Yeah, the PS5 has sold a shit ton, but yet there's fuck all games for it. So we need to stop using that as a crutch, right? We need to stop hating on Xbox just because they don't have enough hardware sales. It's at the end of the day, who fucking cares? Who honestly cares how many Xboxes are out in the wild? As long as people are playing those Xboxes and they're enjoying those Xboxes, who the hell cares? All right? Who cares? And people act as well like Xbox is like the main, like where Microsoft gets most of their money from or something. You guys do realize Microsoft is more than just the Xbox division. Like, Microsoft also owns Windows. Like, they put out, obviously, the operating system and Microsoft Office and all that. And in fact, they probably make more money off that than anything to do with Xbox. Because the Xbox brand has pretty much, historically, ever since the original Xbox, always lost money. They've always been, like, in the red ever since the 2000s. So, the thing is, what people seem to fail to understand is that a lot of people think that if Xbox fails, then that's the end of Microsoft. No. Xbox, technically, financially, has been failing since the original Xbox, and yet Microsoft's perfectly fine. In fact, Microsoft is worth an insane amount. I think they're worth like $3 trillion, and most of that money probably goes from Windows. They make more money from Windows than the Xbox brand. Like, Xbox is just like a side thing for them. So if Xbox does fail and they lose a shit ton of money, and they're forced to stop making consoles, let's say hypothetically, ultimately it doesn't matter, because Microsoft as a corporation will be fine. Because they're more than just Xbox. Like, you get what I mean? But yeah, people think that if Xbox fails, that Microsoft's going to go bankrupt all of a sudden. Like, I hear it all the time, like, oh, Xbox is making no money, Microsoft's making no money. Like, what are you talking about? Microsoft's more than just Xbox. They have the whole Windows, like, you get what I mean? And they do more than that as well. Like, I think they used to sell phones as well, like, back in the day. I don't know if they still do, but, like, they're more than just Xbox. So I don't understand why people say, like, Microsoft's losing a shit ton of money. Yeah, that might be true on the Xbox brand, but at the end of the day, even if they do lose a shit ton of money, they're still going to be fine. Because they're not solely, it's not like Sony and Nintendo where they're solely relying on their consoles. Microsoft, they can bow the hardware business at any moment, and they'll be perfectly fine. You know, financially, they'll be all good. So at the end of the day, can we stop with the whole hardware sales, like, narrative? Like, and also as well, like, the financials, like, why do we talk about financials of these companies anyway? Like, why do we care about how much money Sony and Microsoft makes? That's for them to, like, figure out, you know? Like, why do we as consumers even care about any of that stuff? Because I know I sure as shit don't. Like, I don't care how much money Nintendo, Sony, or Microsoft makes. I don't care how many units they sell, or how much the games sell. I personally do not give a shit. I do not give a single fuck. But yet people seem to care so much about this stuff. I mean, I get, like, it makes for, like, an interesting discussion piece on whether, like, someone's obviously doing well or not. But at the end of the day, who really cares? As long as the games are there, which this generation's severely lacking, who honestly cares about the financials, all right? Like, call me crazy, I would take a console that only sold 1 million units with good games than a console that sold 200 million and has, like, nothing to play on it. Call me crazy, but I'll take the 1 million sales and the system of games, alright? Hardware sales does not equal quality. And then, of course, one of the big things people always complain about with Xbox is their lack of exclusives. People always said, oh, what's the point of an Xbox? They're releasing their games on all platforms, you know, there's no exclusives on the system, you know, that's the reason why it's failing, yada, yada, yada. First of all, people say Xbox has no exclusives, which is true, I'll give you that. But neither does Sony. You people do realize that Sony puts all of their games on PC, even if they're not day and day, they still put them on PC, like Spider-Man, God of War, and Ghost of Tsushima and all that. These games aren't exclusives anymore. They were when they first came out. Well, some of them. But, like, even, like, when Sony was doing the cross-gen period, like Gran Turismo 7, Horizon Forbidden West, like, early on the PS5, those games were not real exclusives because they were cross-gen with PS4. If a game's cross-gen, it's non-exclusive. Regardless of if both consoles are owned by the same, like, manufacturer, like they're both, like, Sony systems, it's still non-exclusive. An exclusive is a game that's only available on just one platform. Just one. So, like, as another example, Metroid Prime 4. That's not exclusive because that's on Switch 1 and Switch 2. You don't need a Switch 2 specifically to play that game. And it's the same thing with Sony. Like, you don't need a PS5 to play Spider-Man or anything. You could play it on a PC. I just find it so funny how people shit on Xbox all the time for not having exclusives. But yet, Sony doesn't have exclusives either. And even if they do, at best, it's a timed exclusive. Like, you might have a game drop on PS5 6 months before it drops on PC. But it eventually does come to PC, though. Like, we know that every Sony game is eventually going to come to PC. So it's like, is it even a real exclusive at that point? Yeah, it might be for the time being when it first comes out, but eventually it's going to be ported elsewhere. So can you really call that an exclusive? For me, I don't think so. If a game's on PC, it's not exclusive, just automatically. Like, the game has to be solely playable on the PS5 to be an exclusive. Like, for example, Astrobot. So far, the only place you could play that is the PS5. I'll give you that. That game is an exclusive. Same with Ghost of Yotei. So far, that game's only on PS5. Therefore, you can call it exclusive. But however, Spider-Man 2, Last of Us, God of War and all that, those are not exclusives because, well, for one, a lot of those are remasters. Like Last of Us Part 1, that's a remake of a PS3 game, so that definitely doesn't count. That's also on PC as well. Same with God of War Ragnarok and Spider-Man 2 and all that. Like, pretty much every Sony game for the last few years is also on PC as well. You never hear people complain about Sony not having exclusives. That's what I find so funny. It's always Xbox. Xbox always gets the blame for being the company with no exclusives. But yet Sony has no exclusives either. At best, you might get like 6 months early on PS5, but at the end of the day, it will eventually come to PC. So, where's that same energy with Sony? And also, another thing as well, Microsoft putting games on other platforms just means that they're getting more money. Like, them putting Halo on PS5 would give them more money than if they made it exclusive to Xbox. I mean, you would think it would be obvious, right? More platforms equals more money. But, like, I hate to tell you people, but we don't live in the era anymore where exclusives sell consoles. That whole narrative doesn't apply to 2026. I'm sorry, but that whole mentality of, like, the Sega Genesis era just doesn't apply anymore. Exclusives do not sell consoles nowadays. It just doesn't. And, like, all you gotta do is just look at the best-selling games on the PS5, and it'll give you your answer right there. Like, there's no first-party Sony game that's outbeating, like, Fortnite or GTA or Call of Duty, which is owned by Microsoft, funny enough. But yeah, I just find it so funny when people still bring up that argument of exclusives sell consoles. No, they fucking don't. No, they fucking don't. Maybe in regards to Nintendo, I'll give you that. People do buy a Switch for exclusives. I will give you that. But PlayStation and Xbox, no. Just no. And even the people that do, it's a very, very tiny minority. The vast majority of the PS5 and Xbox user base bought the system for a third-party game, alright? I'm telling you right now, Fortnite has sold more PS5s than any Sony first-party game. And that is a fucking fact. I will fight anyone on that argument, alright? I don't even give a shit. That is a fucking fact. Fucking Roblox has probably sold more PS5s than any first-party Sony game. Like, it's true. It's honestly true. Like, look up the top performing games on the PS5 and Series X, and you won't see any exclusives. Like, this whole narrative is fucking stupid. Like, it just doesn't apply anymore. People don't buy consoles anymore for exclusives. They just don't. They buy it because that's what their friends got, or, you know, they had, like, the PS4 and they want to upgrade and move all their stuff over to PS5. Like, but exclusives have nothing to do with that. That's not the reason why people buy PlayStation or Xbox. It just isn't. I'm sorry, but it just isn't. You know, this isn't the era where, you know, people brought a Mega Drive to play Sonic and they brought the Super Nintendo to play Super Mario World. This isn't that era anymore. I'm sorry, but it just isn't. Like, exclusivity is basically over, if you think about it. Nintendo's the only one that's doing any form of true exclusivity. And even then, like, only certain games are true Nintendo exclusives. Because even Nintendo's doing cross-gen, like Pokemon Legends and Metroid Prime 4. So yeah, so me personally, I don't see any problem with Microsoft making, you know, games multi-platform. I mean, let's be honest, I mean, we already know the Xbox install base isn't as high as PlayStation, obviously. So, like, what makes you guys think that people are going to buy a Series X specifically to play the fucking Halo Campaign Evolved remake when they've already got Halo on their damn system? They've already got the Master Chief Collection. Like, what would be the point? I don't see any problem with it, personally. People lose their fucking minds whenever a Microsoft game comes to PlayStation. Especially, like, when Forza got announced, and then Gears of War, and then Halo. You know, people thought that was the end of Xbox. People absolutely lost it. They were like, yep, the brand's done. It's over. And it's like, no, they're gonna... This is a win for Microsoft. They're gonna make more money making it multi-platform than if it was an exclusive. You do realise that. And not to mention, Halo's already available on Xbox. So, like, how are you going to sell Halo again to the Xbox audience when they already have access to it? Whereas the PlayStation audience doesn't. If you think about it, it actually makes more sense for those games to be on PlayStation as well. Because, like, Gears of War and Forza Horizon 5 as well, good example. Those games were on Xbox for years. So, like, all Microsoft's doing, really, is just selling the game to a new audience that never had access to the game in the first place. I don't see a problem with it, personally. I honestly do not see a problem with Microsoft. If they want to put games on PlayStation or even Switch, go ahead. I see no problem with it. And that also kind of ties into my next point as well. People saying that there's no point for an Xbox because I might as well just buy a PS5 and have access to both PlayStation and Xbox games. Even that logic is flawed, and I'll tell you why. You don't have every Xbox game on PlayStation. You're getting the new games, I'll give you that, like Forza Horizon 5 and 6, which is coming out later this year. You are getting that on PlayStation, and Gears of War Reloaded, Halo, Indiana Jones, Fable, Avowed. Like, you are getting, even Tony Hawk. Like, every Activision game, like, Activision's owned by Microsoft, so even those count as Xbox games, you know. But you don't get everything, all right? You don't get all the Forzas. So if you want to play Forza Horizon 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, the Forza Motorsports, you know, you still need an Xbox. Same with Gears of War. You can only play Gears of War 1, the Reloaded remaster, on PS5. If you want to play Gears 2, you still need an Xbox. You want to play Gears 3, you still need an Xbox. Gears Judgment, Gears 4, etc. Like, you get what I mean? Yeah, but this whole argument of there's no point of owning an Xbox is just... it's just not true. Because, again, like, you don't get every Xbox game on PlayStation. You're only getting the latest Microsoft releases. If you want to have access to everything, you still need an Xbox. So, like, for example, if someone really wants to get into Forza, you know, and they buy Forza Horizon 5 on the PS5, and they really like that game to the point where they want to check out the rest of the series, guess what? They're going to need an Xbox to check out the rest of the series. They can't play the rest of the Forzas on the PS5. Because they've only got just that one game so far, and then soon to be Horizon 6. But if they want to play the earlier Horizons, they're going to need an Xbox. Or a PC even. Like, you get what I mean? So there's still reason. There's still reason to get an Xbox. I don't understand why people say there's no point for an Xbox. There's still reason for it. If you want all the Gears of Wars, you still need an Xbox. You want all the Halos, etc. Like, not every Xbox game is on PlayStation. It just isn't. The last major point I want to bring up is this whole thing of Xbox may or may not be leaving the hardware market. So this is something I've been hearing for a long ass time, but a lot of people think that Microsoft's going to go the way of Sega, where apparently they're doing so badly in consoles that they're going to just completely bow out of consoles entirely. A lot of people think that it isn't even going to be a next-gen Xbox, even though they've already confirmed it. People still deny it somehow. And they think that, like, Xbox is doing so badly that they're going to leave the hardware business entirely. Which, I mean, I'm not saying they won't, but so will Sony, and so will Nintendo eventually. Like, I do feel like we're kind of nearing, like, the end of game consoles, like, really being a thing. Because, especially with, like, exclusivity pretty much being completely over with now, it's pretty much to the point where, like, having multiple consoles kind of doesn't really make as much sense anymore. Not to mention companies are trying to push for, like, subscription services and whatnot. Like, I feel like, honestly, the next generation of consoles will more likely be the last. So I feel like the next Xbox will probably be the last Xbox we ever have. The next PlayStation will be the last PlayStation. And then, like, the Switch 3 or whatever will be the last Nintendo system. I do truly feel like there's going to be one more generation, and then that's going to be it. That's going to be the end of game consoles. Everything at that point will be... because the ultimate goal is, like, cloud streaming, and eventually they're going to have it to, like, Xbox, PlayStation, and all that. Are just going to be an app on, like, your phone or your smart TV or whatever. That's basically the future of gaming. Is that you won't even need, like, a piece of hardware whatsoever. You can just play games wherever and they'll be streamed to the cloud. That is the future of gaming. But we're not there yet, and I can guarantee you guys, whether you want to admit it or not, there is going to be another Xbox. A lot of people are really convinced that there isn't going to be another Xbox. And in fact, there's a certain someone who I watched their video, and they're so convinced that there isn't going to be another Xbox, whereas I'm the complete opposite. To the point where I actually put a comment saying, I bet £1,000 that there will be another Xbox. And he actually agreed to that bet. And he said that if I'm right, he has to buy me the next Xbox. So, we shall see. We shall see what happens with that. But, yeah, it's just... And again, even after, like... Because Microsoft already confirmed it. Like, they did that whole, like, announcement trailer with Sarah Bond, straight up talking about their plans for next generation. And yet, even after that, you still got people denying that there isn't going to be another Xbox. And apparently, I've heard reports that it might come out as early as, like, either this year or next year. At the end of the day, there's still going to be another Xbox. But yet, people think that there just isn't for some reason. People think that Xbox is going to bow out of consoles completely. And it just isn't true, at least not for right now. And what I find so funny as well is that it doesn't matter if Xbox has a console or not, people are going to hate on them regardless, because I've noticed that people just hate Xbox for literally every single fucking thing that they do. Literally, they always blame everything on Phil Spencer. Like, that guy can't even take a breath without someone criticizing him. Like, it's ridiculous, man. The hate for Xbox is just so forced at this point. Like, it's gone beyond the point of just talking about their failures. It's to the point where, like, they just get hated for no fucking reason. Like, I've seen it time and time and time again, and it actually gets on my nerves. And I don't even own an Xbox. So again, this isn't me defending the Series X or anything. I don't even own the damn system. I just got to call it as is. And it's like, you've got people out here like saying that, oh, Xbox shouldn't leave the console market. You know, they should stay. You know, we need competition. You know, it's good for the industry. But yet the same people saying this are also the same ones that if the next Xbox does come out, they're just going to bash on it. Like, you know what I mean? The same people that say Xbox shouldn't leave the hardware business, they should stay, are just going to hate on the next Xbox anyway. So it's like, there's no winning, you know? That's just one thing I've noticed, is that no matter what Xbox does, people just fucking hate on them. Constantly. But yet, you never hear anything from Sony. That's what I find so funny. I would argue Sony's been fucking up more this generation. Like, they've been doing hardly anything but remasters and remakes on PS5. Like, it's to the point where third parties completely carrying that console, bro. I'm gonna be honest. If it wasn't for third party, the PS5 would be an utter joke of a console, alright? Third party is carrying PlayStation. I don't care what no one says. But yeah, it's just like Xbox gets the blame for everything, and like Sony, like you never hear anything from Sony. That's what I find just so fun. And it shows as well. Like, I don't know if you guys have heard the term Xbox tax, but Xbox tax is 100% real. It is. I've seen it time and time before. I've literally seen like Sony copy things Microsoft does and gets no flack for it. Microsoft does something, they get all the hate for it. Sony does the same thing, you hear crickets. Like, for example, the whole like multi-platform thing. People lost their damn minds when Microsoft announced they were putting games on PlayStation. But yet when Sony put Helldivers 2 on Xbox, nothing. Or Lego Horizons. You know, Horizon's a major IP on PlayStation. That came to the Nintendo Switch. Again, you didn't hear a damn thing. So that's what I find so funny, is that when Sony copies Microsoft, they get away with it, scot-free. No one says a damn thing. But Microsoft gets all the blame. That's the hypocrisy that I notice in this community. So yeah, at the end of the day, I know this is like a very rambly video, but this is something that I've just wanted to get off my chest for the longest time. And it just had to be said, because I personally am getting so sick and tired of this unnecessary hate for Xbox, alright? Now, I'm not saying everything's completely unnecessary. There are some good points people do bring up, you know, some valid criticisms towards Xbox. But I'm just saying, it's gotten to the point where people say Xbox is dead for basically no reason, you know? It's to the point where people hate Xbox and they don't even know why they hate it. And hopefully we get more people doing videos like this, actually talking about what's really going on with Xbox, you know, actually like breaking it down rather than just automatically labeling them as a failure. And I want to also just briefly give a huge shout out to Gamester, Nightmare on Game Street. He's my favorite YouTuber by far. I watch him like literally on like a daily basis. I love his content. But basically he exposes like fanboys, mainly PlayStation ones, and exposes their like, you know, hypocrisy or their dumb talking points. And he is one of the only people who actually brings up the same points that I do. You know, he doesn't like blindly say Xbox is dead, you know, just blindly hate on them for no reason. He actually breaks it down and explains like, you know, what's really going on with gaming. And he brings the truth. His whole thing is that he brings the truth and awareness to the gaming community. And I hugely respect that. I cannot like, honestly, give the guy all the support in the world. He only has like 6,000 subscribers, which is criminal. Absolute criminal. He deserves way more. Like, seriously, I'll probably have a link to his channel in the description. Go subscribe. If you actually want, like, legitimate, like, gaming news and the truth and honesty and no, like, bias or anything when it comes to gaming topics, go to Gamester's channel. Like, seriously, I could not recommend him enough. He deserves your support way more than fucking Dreamcast guy, RGT85, like, any of those guys that just run with narratives, you know? Like, he deserves your support way more than any of the bigger YouTube content creators that talk about gaming news on a daily basis. He deserves your support more because he's actually providing the truth. And he's not afraid to say things as well. Like, there's certain people who have biases towards certain companies, and they'll be afraid to say certain things because they don't want to upset their fans. Gamster's not like that. Gamester, he's not afraid to say it as it is, you know, like he talks shit about Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, but when it's justified. He only talks shit about it when it's justified, even PC. So yeah, seriously, man, go support his channel. We got to get him to at least 10k subscribers. Give him all the support in the world. I'm even a channel member, you know. He's the only YouTuber that I'm actually a member of. That's how much I love his content. I'm actually a channel member. And also, while you're at it, tell him that I sent you as well. Because, yeah, like, I can't recommend his stuff enough. Again, if you want, like, actual honesty and truth when it comes to gaming news, and also pointing and laughing at how stupid fanboys can be, go subscribe to Gamester. He's top YouTuber. But yeah, but anyway, that's all I gotta say pretty much. Again, I know this is something very different to what I usually do, but I just, like I said, I had to just ramble about this because this is something that's been swirling around in my head for way too long. I just had to get this out, get my thoughts out. And yeah, and hopefully, like, you guys agree, you know, if you own a Series X and you think all the narratives and stuff people have been saying about Xbox for a long time is ridiculous, let me know. And just, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And yeah, with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care now.